In 1,000 years' time, I'd like to bet that Elon Musk is going to be in the history books as one of the most innovative and clever people of our generation. He's been able to do more in his 50 years on this planet than most of us could hope to do in 100 lifetimes. And yes, part of that, he has a big team, he's works super hard and has money, but another part of that is that his mindset and how he breaks down problems is on a different level with most people. Elon Musk is the CEO of Tesla, an electric vehicle company which is reducing the carbon footprint of vehicles as we know it, reducing the pollution in the air. He also founded SpaceX, which not only has the aim of putting humans onto Mars in the future, but he also has Starlink as well, which aims to build a satellite broadband internet network for the whole of the planet. And this isn't including his company called Neuralink, which has the aim to integrate the brain with computers to help people with paralysis regain independent function. What can this guy not do?
Like,
I got a million ideas.
I'm sure you do.
There's no shortage of that. Yeah.
I just don't know how you manage your time. I don't understand it. It doesn't even seem humanly possible.
In this video today, we're going to break down how Elon Musk can take massive leaps of progress, leaving everyone else in the dust by using the first principles method when it comes to making better decisions. And if you can apply these principles in your own business, your own decision making, your own life as well, you're going to be doing a lot better than most people. Now, first principles thinking, also called reasoning from first principles, requires breaking down a problem into its fundamental building blocks, its essential elements, asking powerful questions, and getting down to the basic truth. In an interview, Elon talks about how he uses a physics principle to make better decisions. Check it out.
I think it's also important to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. So the normal way that we conduct our lives is we reason by analogy. We're doing this because it's like something else that was done, or it's like what other people are doing. But by first principles is kind of a physics way of looking at the world. And what that really means is you kind of boil things down to the most fundamental truths and say, okay, what are we sure is true, or as sure as possible is true? And then reason up from there.
Give me an example of that. Like, what's one thing that you've done that on that you feel has worked for you?
Sure. So somebody could say that battery packs are really expensive, and that's just the way they'll always be, because that's the way they've been in the past. If you applied that reasoning to anything new, then you wouldn't be able to ever get to that new thing. For batteries, they would say, oh, it's going to cost, historically it's cost $600 per kilowatt hour, and so it's not going to be much better than that in the future. And you say, no, okay, what are the batteries made of? So first principles would be to say, okay, what are the material constituents of the batteries? What is the spot market value of the material constituents? So you can say, okay, it's got cobalt, nickel, aluminum, carbon, and some polymers for separation, and a steel can. So break that down on a material basis and say, okay, if we bought that in the London Metal Exchange, what would each of those things cost? It's like $80 per kilowatt hour. So clearly you can have batteries that are much, much cheaper than anyone realizes.
So let's break that down a little bit. Rather than taking things as factual, information which he's being given as factual, previous discoveries as factual, what he's doing is checking these previous preconceptions to see if they are actually assumptions or fact. He makes a list of what's an assumption, what's a fact, and then he tests it almost. He asks what the preconceptions are which are holding him back from innovating. And then he asks what potentially factual assumptions which aren't actual real facts. Think about this in terms of your day-to-day. How many times do you get told something or potentially just read an email or get a piece of information and you just think, yeah, that's just the way it is. So step number one is to identify the current assumptions. What's everyone assuming? What's everyone just taking as fact? And explore it to see whether it's actually fact or just an assumption. The next step of first principles thinking, after you've broke down the assumptions into what's fact and what's just an assumption or preconception, is to actually break down the problems into first principles as well. What do you know to be absolutely true with this problem? What is an actual obstacle versus what is a perceived obstacle? Is there any disconfirming evidence which shows that the problem has previously been dealt with in a different way? And the final step is basically putting it all together. What do we know is an actual assumption versus the facts? What do we know is the actual breakdown of the problem versus like what's perceived as the problem and what's perceived as the obstacle? And then from there, once we have both of those parts, we can put them together and actually create a new assumption. And Elon is always asking himself, is this correct? Is there a better way? Is this actually true? And from there, he innovates all these new solutions. And he has a track record of doing this again and again and again.
Because I'm an alien.
So in that example there, he was taking the preconception that batteries are too expensive, and he broke it down like, what actually is the expensive part of them? Can we replace that expensive part? You can actually input reasoning from first principles in your life and business as well. And a great way to do it is using the 5 whys techniques. If you have a problem, ask yourself why. Then ask yourself why to that answer. Then why to that answer. I've diagnosed business bottlenecks by just using these techniques. Here's a great example. A client comes to me and says, Rob, we're not getting enough sales this month. I'll ask them why they think that is. Well, we're just not getting that many calls, Rob, to our business. Why do you think that is? Well, we haven't had that many leads responding to our emails. Why do you think that is? Well, we haven't been sending our usual pace of emails. Now we're starting to get to like the root cause of a problem. Obviously, that was a very, very easy example, and usually the client would be like, well, I'm not really sure, but you get where it's going. Often you can diagnose the root cause of the problem by just asking the 5 whys, and then when you start to get close to the root cause, you can then solve the root cause. Why is this root cause this particular way? Well, it needs this action inputting into it, or it needs this increase in frequency, or it needs to be changed with these different ideas as well. Something along those lines. And if you actually think about it, thinking from first principles probably hasn't only helped him further his companies and problem solve there, but actually to problem solve on a higher level, which has led him to the whole ideas of some of these creative companies, like putting people on Mars, like helping people with paralysis regain function by using computers, by sending up satellites into space to actually give the whole world global internet access. These are pretty creative solutions to pretty strong and complex problems. And he's done it all just by breaking things down to the very, very basics. You could totally apply this in your life as well. Step 1 is to check the preconceptions or assumptions around the problem you're facing. Step 2 is to break the problem down to its very first principles. What's actually true about it? What's actually happening? Not just assumptions, what's actually going on. And then step 3, compare them both to come up with the creative solution. Remember the 5 why technique as well, which helps you navigate to the root cause of the problem so you can further problem solve from there. My name's Rob Lally. I'm an entrepreneur based in the UK. If you did enjoy this video, please subscribe to the channel and leave me a like below. It really helps me. And I continue to produce content around about how to improve your business and also improve areas of your life as well. I hope you enjoyed this video, and take care. Hopefully see you in the next one.